Hello everyone, this is Aditya Mahajan of Class 11 Lovedale. As a passionate and enthusiastic member of the project Prakriti Rakshatu, it is my absolute honor to present to you in the following document. It shows our visions, our goals, our deadlines, and what all things we want to inculcate further as we move along this project. This video is going to be meant for all my team members, principal ma'am, uh, and any person who would want to watch this later on. And if they do, that means we've succeeded in our goal in making this world a better place and adding love to it. If there's any failure on my end, or any suggestions, or any reviews, feedbacks, etc., I'd be very glad to receive them and work my absolute hardest to try and eradicate them entirely. As always, I love all of you. Following is a document which shows our modus operandi, or essentially our way of working and how we want to plan things out. I've also made a document where, previous to this one, this is the second document which I've made, and that is essentially the constitution or the preamble um, of our club, and that explains how and all further has been made right now has been taken into account from the previous document, the constitution or the preamble of the club, through which all of this has been made. Now, let me share to you the document. All right. As you may see here, uh, this is our this is essentially the list of tables I made. This is a mind chart of what we want to accomplish. There are timelines and deadlines, and these are some of the cool things I think we can inculcate later on. So let's start with our goals. Project Prakriti Rakshatu has been an initiative of our council and Nivedita ma'am. We want to make Venkateshwar International School a green school. Essentially, we want to minimize stuff like carbon emissions and be of service to the environment. I've listed out a few goals which we can start implementing as soon as we can, as soon as possible, and I'll read them out to you and explain them exactly what I mean by them. The first thing that we want to do is encourage the use of renewable energy sources, such as, say, solid, solar, or wind power. I've also listed out the steps through which all of these things can be implemented. Please keep in mind that these steps are not mutually exclusive of each other, and it need not be necessary at all to carry them out one at a time. In fact, we can carry out many simultaneous steps like at the same time, right? So, yeah, coming back to the point, the first goal that we want to accomplish, in the near future, is the encouragement of the use of renewable energy sources. Now, this could be solar power, this could be wind power. The first thing we'd want to do to get this stuff done is conduct a renewable energy audit. What I mean by that is essentially a review of where our school may need to improve, where most of our energy goes in, and identify those key gray areas where we can come in and really, help. As to any plan, as to any successful plan and to-do list, we should also always start like small, right? And then gradually, as momentum builds on with our hard work and discipline, carry it forward. So let's start by implementing small-scale renewable energy projects, such as installing solar panels, for example, on our school's roof. And we could use that to, say, power outdoor lights or our classrooms' lights themselves. And the cool thing about this is this is not really very difficult to implement. This will, of course, cost a bit of money from the school's end, but I think we are a very passionate lot of people who are willing, to get this stuff done and really go to a new level, to do this stuff. So I hope those costs may be covered. But yeah, if we can get this stuff done, it would create a lot of momentum to get all of these other stuffs done. Well, I find physics a very philosophical thing. And the interesting thing is, there's a concept in physics, which is the moment of inertia. So whenever you start moving an object, the maximum force, like it has to be applied at that moment to, get stuff moving. But when it starts to move, your force is just very constant and it starts to like go along. This does not mean that the journey will be very easy, and it definitely does not imply that. But the point is, to start anything, the maximum force only has to be applied on the start, and then momentum starts building up. I think this is one of those key moments where we should like spend as much of our energy to get the stuff off the ground and really build up a reputation through which we can get other stuffs done. Now, the step three here would be to encourage younger students from grade 1 to 6 to participate in auditorium sessions and seminars. Which could be organized by, say, any enthusiastic kid or any enthusiastic student. Perhaps amongst me or perhaps amongst us as well. I could also do it. I'd love to do that sort of thing. And the reason why I've like targeted, not targeted in the sense, but why I have mentioned a lot of it on young kids, like as you will see later on, is because we want a generation or we want a mission that wants to go on even after we leave. I'm in class 11th right now, just entered, and I'll be of course here for 2 years. And what happens to this project after I leave? I don't want this like to close off after this batch of kids leave. So we need like a backup, or not really a backup. We need a future generation to come on and follow in our footsteps, follow in our path, create their new journey, create the new innovations, etc. So this is why, of course, it's very, very important, to impact the younger generations to do this thing. The fourth step is something that we should do a bit later on. And as I said, these steps should be carried out in unison. And so that basically involves garnering PMO, which is the Prime Minister's office, or some NGO, some good established NGO's attention, and we could help, and we could ask them to help fund the school's initiatives. You'll notice that I've written this will pay off. Well, this will also pay off well later on, and the reason I believe that is because, well, uh, we want to go to an international level with this. We want to go to the International Science and Engineering Fair, ISEF, and we want to pitch our idea and obviously win something. So this sort of recognition will really help us like later on. That's one thing. That's one problem that we could solve. There are six. The second one is expand the green spaces on school grounds by planting more trees and plants, in addition, of course, to other measures. By expanding green spaces, I mean to get more trees, get more flowers, etc., close to the students, not just in one area, but to try and spread even in the classrooms. So, like as I've written him, the first thing we could do to start this is like initiate maybe a green space project or a competition. Now this is something that, of course, teachers would definitely have to do some, like take part in, and especially like the lower grade, in the sense like the teachers from grade 6 to grade 9. These grades are the ones that have like a bit more of the time compared to the high school students who have considerably like more coursework. So the teachers of lower grades could really help in doing this sort of stuff. And what we want to do here is in these projects is plant trees, plant further trees and or flowers or something nearby at least the school. We could maybe plant more of them, in the school grounds itself, and that would really help, especially the near the areas which are like near ventilation. So, like 10 years later, it would be even more ventilated, and it would really reduce our dependence on AC systems. Second thing we could do is we could use large containers such as plant boxes or plots or pots to grow plants in small spaces. This can be done in, say, courtyards, balconies, or even like rooftops. What I mean by this is in any remote area, and by remote area, I mean with respect, of course, to the environment. So let's say we're in the school like walking room. There aren't really any plants there. So for example, if I go from 11th Lovedale to the washroom, I do not find many like plants or anything sort of things there. So we could like try and plant them, especially in places where there's a high density of students coming along and going. That's a very interesting thing. The third step is built upon the success of steps one and two. And again, the reason for that is the increase of momentum, um, which will, of course, be caused by step one and two. We could install green roofs or walls. So, these green walls that like which have stacked, you know, miniature pots or plants, we could try and implement those. Now, of course, this is a very costly type of thing, so we'll try to limit it. And we could but try doing that. That's an interesting one. Fourth one is participating in community planting events. So essentially, uh, I'd advise like the school and the kids to start planting plants nearby the school, the surroundings, so that whenever someone comes into like at least even the driveway of Venkateshwar International School, the aura changes because of like more trees, more greenery, more plants, more flowers, etc. This is something we should definitely do. And what this would also help do is help improve relations with the nearby societies, neighbors, and really spread like love in this neighborhood, this small radius or the small section. And that really helps because, as I was saying, like if you give love, you will always like receive love with people. So that's really an interesting one which we could do. And this is of course another thing which could help us because when our ambitions will increase, this sort of support could really be beneficial to us. Let's move on to the third thing, which is reduce carbon emissions. Carbon emissions are a big deal now, and our planet is warming up. It's of like it should be one of our primary concerns to make sure that our school does not contribute to this problem. I mean, or we should like really minimize our carbon emissions if we want to like stay like true to our program. This is one of the most important points in the entirety of the things that we would want to accomplish, like a short-term span. So by short-term, I of course like means something like maybe 6 months to 8 months, something like that, because all of these things are pretty ambitious, and all of these things are they'll take time to implement. So that's what I mean by short-term. So what can we do about this? Energy efficient lighting. Replace traditional lighting with LED bulbs, that consume less electricity and last longer. The second thing which we could do is have better food choices. So if you go to the canteen, some food in there could be phased out for better foods better like Indian alternatives. And these types of things really work well with our school as well because of the ethos and the beliefs of our school that we should be very well tied into our cultural roots. And this also help strengthen our roots as well with our motherland. And so, the thing is, much of the food and why cafeterias are really, sought after by students is because a lot of junk food that's also given out. Much of that should be replaced for better alternatives, and most importantly, alternatives that are not as demanding on the environment to grow, so that we can really like make some sort of an impact. Because cafeterias require a lot of supply. To meet the demands of students. If we can also generate like a better mentality in the hearts and minds of kids to not like want to sort of things, that would really help us as well. Third thing is we could try and save paper. Now, thing is we could paper is something that we should reuse, right? And what we could do for that is the implementation of a paper recycling program. We could set up a paper recycling program like some sort of bin or some sort of area where kids can deposit like papers or pieces or bits of or anything like they want to be reused or they find is waste, and we could try and reuse that, right? Now you know that the reason why I say that is because the reduction of the amount of paper that needs to be produced, transported, and eventually disposed of, like reduces the amount of energy and resources used to make all of that stuff. So that would help in reducing carbon emissions. That's of course all of this. Of course, is not like done sort of thing. I'm really open to any suggestions and any ideas that anyone has. Um, and we'd be very willing to implement things. So some of these steps, maybe like I'm sure people would say, like some of these are could be replaced for other viable steps, which I'm really interested in looking at. So if you have any suggestions or any sort of suggestion, any sort of recommendation, just please message me. Right. Let's move on to the fifth step, and this is that make sure like, that we should make sure like our grounds, which have a lot of trees and plants itself, they get proper nutrition and like the nutrients they require. And what we could do, and what I thought we could do for this is start a composting program. So we could identify a suitable location for this thing, and this could be either like in the school or maybe even outside it. But we preferably try to get this inside the school only because if we do it outside, it would greatly reduce student interactions with it. So let's keep this inside. Get a suitable location, maybe a small part of the playground. When we have very large playground, some part of that could, of course, be used for this type of program. And uh, before we proceed with that, we could educate students and the staff members, like teachers, etc., about composting. We could teach them as to what should and should not be done. Like during the process of composting, how to maintain these compost piles, and really encourage them to bring anything they can. And this can range from food scraps to stuff like stuff that's biodegradable, anything, any organic material essentially, from their homes to contribute to this compost. And then we should monitor and maintain track of the compost pile, and we could regularly like turn the pile and add water to keep it moist. Um, of course, better practices could of course be like ensued. But it's very important that we keep track of how our progress is going, at least like once every 3 or 4 days, right? Now, this is a really important thing. We should combat plastics. Plastics are a big no-no. Like if we want to make our school a clean school. Excuse me. Yeah. The plastics. The problem with plastics. Well, we know the problems with plastics, and I don't need to tell you on what the problem is and what isn't. I think you're very well aware of what like the problems are. They are very handy, but they're not biodegradable, and we've made so much plastic that it's really like clogging up the earth with how much we've made. So, one step which the school could take is ban the use of single-use plastics. Stuff like straws, disposable cutlery, plates in the cafeteria, if they remain any, or if they even were like in the first place, if they're even now, we should ban the use of them entirely and switch to more viable alternatives like paper. So if you look at the case study of Starbucks used to sell like their coffee in these sort of plastic cups, uh, but they've now replaced that very successfully for paper cups. So if these type of people can do that, we can as well, right? Uh, Plastic, as I said, is very handy, and so it's handy because we can make a lot of stuff with it. So what we could do to replace plastic is encourage reusability. Students, staffs, etc. They should use reusable water bottles, lunch boxes, shopping bags, anything they can. Just reuse it so that you don't have to buy plastic, and that will help us in this fight. Of course, biodegradable products should be used for step three. Step two and step three are like pretty much the same thing. And step four, which is we can, if we have any plastic at all, we could try and recycle it to make sure like we have it, let's just make the best use of it, at this point. But really, let's not get any more plastics in. If there was any plastic to begin with, just recycle it, right? And we can set up another recycling program for plastic products such as bottles and containers. Now, you notice I've mentioned a lot about programs. I think we've mentioned like two already. And the thing with programs is like there's a lot of involvement. So the good thing about this would be because of the amount of involvement students would have with this project, we we will carry out our stuff much more effectively and much more efficiently. Once we also understand the problems at the grassroots level itself, alongside that, it would reduce our demands for any sort of labor to like go around and come around. And the fifth step would be to raise awareness, of course, like as to why this stuff should not exist, it should not be brought in the school premises in the first place, right? Now, the sixth one is a very long-term type of thing, and that is to incorporate environmental education into the curriculum. Now, there are certain chapters, given inside NCERT books, but which are, made to made to raise awareness essentially of this topic. So, for example, there are topics over why we should preserve our lands, water. But many teachers, of course, this is not the teacher's fault, and I don't blame any teacher for this. But many teachers tend to skip them over, and this is done obviously to cover the syllabus up. Now the thing is, syllabus does get covered, and and there exists some time that goes in waste. After the syllabus is covered and before like the exams. So what I say is, just like try to cover these chapters. Just like please do try to cover these chapters and like not completely skip them. And I'd say this should be done not in a way to scare the kids for an exam, or not. It should not be done out of the fear of an exam. Essentially, it should be done like out of something, out of like contributing, out of understanding, and to be later on able to contribute to the environment. So essentially, we would really want like even better environmental education into the curriculum. And this does not need to be some sort of formal chapter. This can be maybe even this video, which I shot. Maybe you could use this. I don't know. Or it could be some sort of say an auditorium session, which would really be handy later on. Because they help in spreading like good awareness and good auditorium sessions. And there have been good auditorium sessions. Really help in getting points across and really making stuff seem good. So, my friends, this was it for like the short-term goals. These short-term goals should like if we complete these short-term goals, we'd really be ahead in our journey, like to become a green school and to go to the international levels. This is some of the things that we should really get like working on quick. And of course, if there are any suggestions or any things, leave them down here below, or like just message me as well. Of course, I think we may also want to like design posters, for example, uh, like during our releases or during the release of this project formally, after it gets like principal ma'am's approval, hopefully. Uh, and what that would do is, of course, generate more interaction, perhaps, and it would make it more familiar with the kids. So I'd want to do that, you know. All right, let's move on to our timelines and deadlines. So no project is good, essentially, like without timelines. It's very important to have a to-do list, but it's also more important to like have a timetable to enhance or to create a structure. This is like our to-do list type of thing. Uh, and this should be our kind. This should be like by when we need to get these things done. All right. So the first thing, so on the left, I've listed out all the things we should be accomplishing in our first year. So that is from grade 11 to grade 12. And so essentially that is 2023 to 2024. On the right are the things that we should accomplish on the second year of this project, having released. So that is essentially 2024 to 2025. So, we like want those things to be achieved by then. So the increase of green spaces, more planting at least like 500 trees, like not necessarily just in the school, but in the surroundings as well. That should be something we should get over with, like at least by the end of the first year. And this is something like I guess we should all contribute in. Even if one of us like plants one tree, there are like 30 or 40 kids in like one section, and there are like 5 or 6 sections. If just two or three club grades contribute wholeheartedly to this, we can get this thing done really quickly, right? One thing that I would like to do is definitely hold this sort of this a seminar to raise awareness on this topic, and you know maybe an auditorium session later on, or we could do that. And have at least 50 students from grades 1 to 6 attend those sessions. We should do that like again by the first year. And our first auditorium session, I'd like for that to be done by the end of May itself. So that's an even more short term goal. By the end of the second year, we should like have done stuff like install solar panels, or build wind turbines nearby, through which we can get electricity and get better reusable energy. And this pertains to the first problem that we not the first problem, the first goal that I mentioned, which is the encouragement of the use of renewable energy sources as the solar and wind power. Right. Let's get that done by the second year, right? And at least let if we want to go to the international level, we of course need to present data and analytics, and we should at least show a 20% reduction or a fifth of the reduction of the consumption, or the use of electricity, to show some solid gains. And so probably we should get that done by the end of the second year. The plastic usage should be reduced by 50%, and a composting program should have at least started by the end of the second year, or it should have been very well underway, right? And of course, this is the final goal. Uh, the two final goals here: achieving the Green Flag certification by the UNEP, and the second is the participation at the International Science and Engineering Fair (ISEF), which we also want to do. So I'm really interested about those things, and we want to get those things done by the end of the second year, right? Now, these were the timelines through which all these main sort of projects should proceed through, right? Let's move on to the third and the final thing, because I think we have mentioned the plans and the plan of actions in these two types of things. But these are the things that I want for us to implement, and I recommend for us to implement. Um, you know, as we gain a lot of traction, as we gain a lot of popularity, as we gain a lot of momentum, essentially. One of the cool things that I think that we could do is decentralize this thing. Essentially, right now there are only like around 3 or 4 kids working like on this project, and essentially everything that gets done is has to be approved by us, and checked by us, etc., etc. As we go forward, as we gain momentum, popularity, and as we get our goals done, ticked off, um, it shouldn't be that some kid wants for some problem to be solved, and he has to go through this whole bureaucratic process, or like through which he has to first submit his problem to a teacher, and this teacher would give it to either one of us, or Nivedita ma'am, biology ma'am, who like in the whole charge of all this stuff. That's a lot of stuff, and the problem with that is that's a lot of bureaucracy. No one would want to indulge in that sort of thing. So we'd really love to decentralize this project. And as I've written in this heading as well, I want to build a more diverse and a more inclusive future of this group, and it's like carried forward to other places as well. But what I want to do is mass source this mission of ours, right? And one idea which I thought for this could be like to create some app. Now I am an AI kid. I am in AI. I'm enrolled in AI. So I also saw sort of an AI solution that I could implement. I've mentioned that in the second one. This is like just a sticky note that I attached here. But yeah, one thing that we could do is make a computer app. Probably I could make that, and like I'd love to collaborate with someone and work alongside them as a team, especially for this purpose. And what we want to do with this app is get people or get kids uh, essentially to report problems or uh, you know suggest any issues or review or recommendations or tell us that something is not getting implemented properly, anything. They can make any suggestions, and either they can go themselves to solve these problems, or the second batch of students who are also in that app could like maybe be assigned those problems, uh, and they go and solve them. Now the thing is, the most important part of all of this is why should the kids even like solve this problem in the first place? Like if I am say a kid in whatever grade, like why would this thing even come into my mind? So well, it would certainly come into mind if I was being awarded for it. So I'd highly recommend any higher authority, any teacher or any like a person at a position of power in the school to really like probably make some certificate or award the kids at least for those kids who help out. And we should like try giving this sort of thing a lot of prestige value attached to it, so that people really help out and are enthusiastic to do it. And that would encourage even better solutions, and it would help create this great ecosystem, perhaps, of where stuff gets reported and stuff gets done. And this is very efficient and very quick and very good to do. And of course, this is also very decentralized as well, because there's now no requirement, of course, of like approval or any like, sort of management. There's very little requirement, at least, of approval or management or anything like that. Um, so that's one very interesting and very cool thing that I think we should implement, but like later on, maybe a few months later on, toward 3 or 4 months after we really gain popularity and traction, etc. Uh, amongst our community only, right? Let's move on to the second thing. As we move forward, as we gain popularity, which I'm sure we will, and let's hope we will. It is very important that our success does not slow us down. We must stay hungry, and we must never like be satisfied of our progress. We're going to be competing with a lot of bright minds if we want to take this to the international level. There would be fierce competitions, not just from not just from other schools, but from internationally as well. So we have to stay on top, and we have to take this pressure and the stress and really do wonders with it. So it must be our aim henceforth to like, yeah, as I mentioned, we should really push us forward to the ISF and the UNEP. And one interesting thing which I could think of is organizing inter-school competitions or inter-house competitions with Venkatesha School as the host. You know, other things like inter-club competitions can also be held. As of now, this is a subset of the science club. But let's see what goes on later on. And essentially, what we'd like to do is have inter club competitions where people compete or people collaborate to give their innovations, to give their ideas into how they can abet like this mission of ours. So an interesting idea that occurred to me. I'm an AI student, so I like thought of that thing. Uh, could be, for example, let's say there exists AI sensors. So there's a thing in AI which is called computer vision. So that is all that means is like the computer's ability to like see real time. So it should be able to, let's say, we want to really minimize our use of ACs for the creation of a or the reduction of carbon emission, right, in VIS. So what we could do is in in classrooms which have a lot of this, which have a really high problem of this, we could implement some sensors that make this a smart AC, and really it sees uh, what the temperature is outside, compares it, maybe runs on a certain algorithm, and it tries and adjust the AC's temperature accordingly. And this should like not be accordingly like to the environment levels, sorry, not the temperature levels, but to help us reduce our carbon emissions. And one of the cool things that we could do about this is really become very interdisciplinary. This is just an AI idea. I'd love to collaborate with kids who are in the fine arts, essentially fine arts. By fine arts, I mean kids who draw and paint, etc., etc. I'd love to collaborate with those kids. And later on as well, I'm sure there are really enthusiastic people in our school uh, who are very active on stuff like Instagram or YouTube, etc. They have their own channels, perhaps there. Um, so we would love for them to spread this message of ours, to spread this movement or this mission of ours. And I also have like my own YouTube channel. It's called Aditya Mahajan Talks. I don't like upload regularly on that, but I can see myself doing it. Um so well, that's about it. This was what I think we could do in the short term. Of course, many of this is absolutely subject to change, and I'd love to hear any opinions or suggestions or ideas by anyone, absolutely anyone. Uh, I'd also appreciate if you like write your name down like into these suggestion boxes, into these suggestion threads, um, so that I can communicate further with you and understand like what you want to suggest. So, dear friends, that is it. And I hope you liked the session. I hope I was able to get my points across to you. If there's any feedback for me, please do give it. I'd love to improve. I always want to improve. And thanks a lot for taking out the time to listen to this. If you've come this far, you've listened, obviously. Thanks a lot. Bye.